Alright guys, welcome to episode 15. If you guys remember a couple episodes ago, I got these foot pegs all done up here, and I'm really not feeling these old school foot pegs. I could get this all powder coated to look nice and fresh, but I want to do something a little more modern, a little more chopperish. So check out these foot pegs here. So I got these nice foot pegs from Performance Machine, and problem is they won't fit inside these brackets here. These are a little too small. This is a little bit wider for the slot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to file this down some so it fits in here. We'll take this here and we're just going to simply cut this and weld this in its place, and then we'll have some sick new foot pegs, a little more modern, a little more custom. Alright guys, if you want to be a cool mofo and own this bike, all you gotta do is go to patreon.com/motopilot, support the build series. You'll qualify to win the bike for as little as $1 per video, and whoever wins this bike also gets a full set of speed and strength riding gear, like an $800 value. Of course, the more you donate to the series, the more chances you are of winning the bike. And I want to mention that Tucker.com is sponsoring this entire build series. A lot of the parts come from them. And so go check them out. If you need anything for your V-twin, your sport bike, your side-by-side, go check out Tucker.com. They got a bunch of catalogs there. They got everything. All right, guys, so I'm gonna abort that idea. I followed this thing down quite a bit, and I still can't get the holes to line up without taking off more material, and that's just gonna make it weaker and weaker. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try taking this foot peg off, and I'm gonna modify these two plates to be closer together and see if that might work. So you know, I need to see if the hole's the same size, make sure there's no other issues. Let's pull this off, see what we get, and maybe we can make this work. Okay, that's a little bit loose in there, but I have new ones of these that are nice and tight in there, so I think I can modify this to get this foot peg to work in there. Yeah, might be able to just put it right there, move this plate over, and call it a day. Perfect. Alright, so what I decided to do here is, rather than move one of these plates, which is kind of a hassle, I just made a spacer, kind of rounded off the edges here so it fits in here nice and tight. I'm going to put that in here, the foot peg will go here, I'll throw a weld around here, drill it, and that should work great. Little C-clamp to hold things in place while I weld it. Come on, dude. Alright, so now we'll just drill a hole through this and that should be good to go. Alright, so let's check this out. That'll go like that. Nice new pin. Slides through there like that. Boom. Okay, so see how it's got a little bit of space? Let's just put a spacer in there, no problem. Alright, so let's just put this back on the bike here. If you remember correctly, I had to make this spacer. I'm going to make another one of these days. That's a lot thicker wall, so it has more bite on here, so this thing will now rotate. With that thin wall, it's got less bite, so we'll get to that one of these days during the build. Slide that in there. And there you have it. That's a little bit trickier than what we had before, don't you think? Now obviously I'll need to build one of these for the other side. I don't need to bore you guys with that. We'll get that done. Let's move on to the next project. Okay, next thing to do is make this battery box work here. It's got all these components on here from the previous bike. I'm just going to cut this thing apart, so it's basically just a box. We don't need all this on here. And then figure out how we're going to keep it on the bike. We need to make sure that whatever we do, you know, if you ever need to change the battery, you can get the battery out without too much trouble. So I don't think I can weld this in place because we have this tank in the way. That's going to be full of electronics. So we'll have to figure out a way to bolt this in. We have a strap here. I might put this underneath that strap so we have a nice flush mounting surface. And so first thing to do is start cutting away at this and see if we can make it work. It might not work at all. To get a bigger cutting wheel, get this piece off here. This right here is like a sanding pad. It's not a grinding pad. It's kind of soft, but it takes off material, gives it kind of like a fine finish. think that's about all I can really take off this thing. It's pretty stripped down. Oh, I can take this off here. These obviously I'll leave here for the strap to hold the battery in place. Let's chop this off right here, and then this thing will be ready to stick in the back. All right, let's see how this thing slides in here without all this garbage in the way. Look at that. So we have a little interference right here. This bracket's just kind of hitting this tube right here. Oh, actually, if I spin it around, then these things right here are hitting on this bracket here. So that's kind of a problem. What am I going to do here? Oh, so complicated. I guess just right there. We're good. So now let's just figure out how we're going to mount it in there, so the whole thing can come out, because we have this in the way. You can't get a battery up and down out of here. This whole thing needs to be removable. So obviously we can't just weld it in place. The only idea I have right now is to weld a couple threaded studs on here, put a couple holes in this strap here, get this out of the way, put a couple nuts on the bottom, and then so to get it out, you just unloosen these nuts. Now another problem I'm dealing with is I need to build a back brake assembly that comes in here, and it's gonna get in the way of this too, so those things kind of need to work together. So that's gonna take some thought. Let me show you real quick what I'm talking about with the back brake. Obviously we put a hardtail frame on this, so we lost all of our back brake assembly. This is the one I cut off the stock frame. So this is gonna end up going here somehow. Come on, baby. So what I'm gonna have to do is build a whole new assembly here, because I can't put that on this thing. That thing's terrible looking. But this is I need a back brake assembly somewhere in here, which is also, if I weld it to the frame, you're not gonna be able to get the battery out. So that's another dilemma I'm dealing with here. This is gonna take some engineering. All right, guys, while I'm trying to wrap my head around this battery box back brake issue, I just put this bar back here. This is what keeps the rear hub from spinning when you hit the brakes. This is the stock one, and it's kind of not really lining up. I want it to line up with this frame tube here, so I can just weld a tab with a hole down here and mount it, but it's not lining up with the frame. You can see here it's lining up. It's a good 1 inch off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this strap here, and I'm going to build a new one, and I'm going to put some bends in it, so it comes off this, comes out, comes straight down, mounts to a tab right under here. So let's get this thing cut to length, stick it on the bender, and make that happen. What I'm doing here is I'm using the center punch, so when I go to drill a hole, the bit doesn't wander around. It hits that center punch, goes right through. I always got to do this before drilling a hole. Just puts a little teeny divot in the metal. Obviously we need a hole at both ends. Frickin' Madonna's on the radio again. Alright, so now we can go to the bigger hole without too much trouble. So now we come over to this muscle size press, put a couple bends in this so it kicks over about 1 inch. I want to make sure it wasn't kinking it. perfect. Yeah. All right, perfect fit. So what I want to do now is I'm going to build a tab right here, drop a hole in it, weld it to the bottom of the frame right here, and that would be it, man. All right, another thing I had to just do is I notched this one end here because the bolt that comes through has a cotter key that goes through it, and this is thicker than the stock material. Oops, that's still hot. This is thicker than the stock material, so I just kind of knocked it down a little bit on the grinder. Now we're just going to kind of run off the corners, make it look pretty. See, so notching this down right here means I can get this nut on far enough to get the cotter pin through that little hole right there on both ends actually. So this is bolt down this end over here. And then just come along, zap this right here with the wire feed. Good to go. Alright guys, that is a wrap for this episode. I know it doesn't seem like we got a lot done, but all these little things take a lot of time. They're not super exciting, but yet it's all part of the build, right? So yeah, we got this brake arm in place, all new custom brake arm. Got the battery box ready to go in, not quite in yet. And come around here, this we did last week. Sissy bar, and then we got a foot peg in place here. Needs to be tightened down, of course, so we'll do the other side with that. Not a big deal. The next episode, we actually got some pretty cool stuff going on. I wanted to get to it today, but I forgot one part to do it, and one piece can just throw everything off. So yeah, don't forget, if you want to try to win this bike, patreon.com/motopilot. Support the series, qualify to win for as little as $1 a video. Plus, when you watch the videos, commercial free. See you guys next episode.